Good evening and welcome to 1010, your top 10 news in 10 minutes. I'm Andy Hong. Now, a quick shout out to my lab partners. Yes, I am working on it, so don't get mad at me, I swear. It's just that I gotta work on 1010 first. We'll have it done by tomorrow, I promise. Now, to this week's news 9,000 refugees arrived in Munich alone today, with 40,000 expected throughout Germany over the weekend. There have been mixed responses to the openness of Germany and Austria toward the Middle Eastern refugees, but many demonstrated their support of having those who sought to escape the wars in Syria and Iraq. Thousands of people held marches in Copenhagen, London, Stockholm, and many other European cities, as well as in cities in far off Australia, to urge the government to welcome the refugees. The UK recently agreed to take in 20,000 in the next 5 years, and President Obama announced yesterday that the United States will also take in 10,000 in the next fiscal year. Definitely not as much as Germany, which, according to Interior Minister spokesman Tobias Plot, receives 10,000 migrants per day. Meanwhile, Hungary went as far as using prisoners to complete a barbed wire fence in Serbia and has been criticized for its mistreatment of refugees stuck in various reception camps. Granted, the country does not have the resources to match the Germans' humanitarian efforts, but numerous human rights groups have tackled the nation for its failure in providing for the refugees. Now, one thing that the human rights groups have justifiably questioned repeatedly is the lack of support from the Gulf states such as Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Lebanon, United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait. I would also mention Iran, but their leader is too busy talking smack about Israel and giving Republicans good reasons to call off the nuclear deal, so I don't think they're really relevant here. The Saudis have reported accepted 2.5 million Syrians since the war began, as well as aiding Lebanon and Jordan's efforts to take in refugees. I wish that was completely true, but the reports have not been completely verified. An absolute terror in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, as a crane collapsed in heavy weather on the Grand Mosque to kill 107 worshippers and injure another 238 just 10 days before the Hajj, a great annual pilgrimage to the holy site undertaken by an estimated 2 million people. Construction was underway to relieve congestion and create safe infrastructure ahead of the pilgrimage around the mosque, which had its share of deaths due to stampedes. Fortunately, the accident occurred during, according to CNN, a lull in visitors to the mosque. Hopefully, the constructions will be complete in better weather so that such an accident does not happen during the pilgrimage. Now, since August 29th, Arizona police has been going head over heels to find the culprit of 11 shootings on the I-10 freeway. A man had been arrested, 19-year-old Oscar De La Torres Munoz, even though he is not a prime suspect, and had been booked in jail for, according to CBS affiliate KPHO, an unrelated marijuana case. In any case, authorities are working hard to prevent the crime spree similar to the serial shootings in 2005 and 2006, which also happened in Phoenix, Arizona, but killed 8 people before the 2 shooters were arrested. NYPD is under fire for an incident in which a policeman violently tackled and arrested James Blake, a world famous former tennis player, after mistaking him for a fraud suspect. The officer, James Frascator, has had 4 complaints from civilians and several lawsuits on excessive force over his 4 years in force, with the latest one finally bringing the officer's troubling record to attention. But seriously, if a bad cop has to mess up a man who was once ranked the 4th best tennis player on the planet to have the department consider his release, I think there just might be a slight problem. I don't know. Just a suggestion. And speaking of tennis, the women's singles US Open finally ended with Flavia Pennetta as the winner. The Italian is 33 years old, and right after winning her first Grand Slam title of her career, she announced her retirement. The final match was between 2 Italians, Pennetta and Roberta Vinci, who defeated Serena Williams in the semifinals against most predictions by analysts. It was a heartwarming sight. Pennetta and Vinci, both from Puglia, have played each other for 2 decades. Once the game was over, they went back to being old friends. That's squad goals for you. And now, in another masterful transition that totally ties in one topic to the next, let's go from tennis to Hillary Clinton. Her email scandal has been blowing up all over the place. She finally apologized after 9 months. It's been really sabotaging her presidential bid as well. New figures show that Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders is either tied or leading at several polls in New Hampshire. Some politicians have called for prosecuting Clinton for the emails, but the Department of Justice, or Justice Department, either way, had announced that Clinton had every right to delete personal emails from the tens of thousands that she had to turn over to the State Department. CBS reports the Justice Department brief announced that there is no legal basis in the Freedom of Information Act for requesters to obtain employees' personal records, and therefore there is no legal basis for the court to order the State Department to preserve or to take steps to preserve the personal records of the former secretary or any other current or former federal employee. Now, let's review some safety rules. If you're a passenger involved in an airplane accident, assuming that you're still alive, you should follow the stewardess's instructions to leave the cabin immediately and forget the luggage. I'm reminding you guys of this because despite a flight crew's heroic and professional responses to an emergency, people could have been at risk because of the passengers' own stupidity. British Airways Flight 2276 Boeing 777 was on takeoff in Las Vegas, bound to London, when the fire caused pilot Chris Henke to safely abort the takeoff and provide for a safe evacuation of the 170 on board. Great piloting that the airline is receiving a lot of praise for. On the other hand, images of passengers with wheeled luggage on tow strolling away from the wreck are raising quite a lot of eyebrows. Look, wheeled luggage is a hassle even without the fire burning away at the wing roots. What if a fire spreads to the wing fuel tanks and you're still there blocking the aisle taking out your suitcases? I know it's hard. I know, but please have some consideration to your fellow passengers and the crew overseeing your safety. And over 2.8 million people have received evacuation orders in eastern Japan as heavy floods injured almost 30 in 10 prefectures. Tropical storm Eto dumped more than 60 centimeters, or as Le Americans would call it, 2 feet of rain since Monday. There are numerous storms over the Pacific this fall, or spring if you're in the southern hemisphere. So Japan isn't out of the woods yet. Unfortunate, as just a few weeks past, we reported on Japanese towns still recovering from the massive earthquake back in 2011. We're expecting extreme weather this winter. Scientists are observing an unprecedentedly strong El Nino that is warming the Pacific Ocean and creating weather formations that are expected to bring rain to the American West. California's reservoirs have lost 6 trillion gallons of water for the past 4 years, and the rains aren't going to help much either. According to NASA oceanographer Bill Patzert, most of California's rivers became flood control channels, draining away the valuable water to save the real estate. Also, the reservoirs of the Northwest is not expected to get as much rain, and the excessively warm temperatures will not see as much snow that the mountains desperately need. So, for the time being, we're going to see some rain, so yay, but then on the long run, this isn't going to be any cure for the drought. I just hit the mic there, hopefully that didn't make too much noise. And last week, we had an interview with the Sci Guys on microbiology. This week, we bring you an exciting development in evolutionary biology. Scientists in South Africa uncover a new hominid species called Homo naledi. Oh, these names. After 2 years of excavation in the Rising Star Cave near Johannesburg, as shown in this video from the National Geographic, the excavation site revealed concentrated fossils of all ages, prompting the team to predict that it was an ancient burial ground. The fossils themselves point to somewhat human-like qualities, long legs, human-like feet, but much smaller cranial caps. Although the remains have not been dated yet, 1,500 fossils have been found. And that was the 1010 News of the Week. I am Andy Hong. Have a great rest of the weekend. And for our Jewish friends out there, have a nice holiday week. And thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with more of your top 10 news of the week. So stay educated.